Hello and welcome to the Grid Talk podcast, where we'll be previewing this weekend's Singapore Grand Prix, hosted today by me, George Howson. And joining me today are Louis Edwards.
Hello.
Jack Watson.
Good evening.
And Owain Medford.
Hi.
All right, lads, good to have you on. So, Singapore this weekend, arguably the hardest track when it comes to the physical challenge, but possibly Mercedes, of all teams, facing an uphill struggle, especially given the last two races, Ferrari winning them. And traditionally, Mercedes struggle around Singapore, don't they, Louis?
Yeah, it's always been a bit of a tough track for Mercedes, and we've seen in recent years that they haven't done particularly well there. Red Bull always come out the gate strong at Singapore, and Ferrari haven't done too badly. So, yeah, it's going to be another difficult one for Mercedes. But, you know, we've seen this team battle through this entire season to win races where we didn't expect them to. So, you never know.
Yeah, there's always a chance, of course. They do have one of the best cars on the grid. You'll expect them to score at the very least strong points. But do you think Mercedes will be facing a bit of pressure coming to this one, Jack, given that Ferrari have relatively comfortably won the last two races?
I mean, I suspect it'll be in consideration for them. I mean, if what Toto has said in previous interviews is true, then they do genuinely fear Ferrari's pace. However, while they have had struggles historically in the past few years, did they not win last year's Singapore Grand Prix?
I think they did in the year before. Well, definitely the year before.
They did win they've won the last two, actually, yeah.
And it's not a power circuit, is it? Like, Ferrari's been scary on tracks like Spa in Italy where they can exploit that power. We saw them walk away from the Mercs in a straight line. They won't be able to do that this year. And we have seen a bit of to and fro with heat. Whether or not that will affect Mercedes or Ferrari, it kind of depends how hot it is, but it is normally quite a warm race, so we might see the tyres also struggling, which Ferrari seems to struggle with this year more than anything. So I wouldn't say Mercedes will have anything to worry about, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that one. I mean, anybody who's been to Singapore will know how absolutely oppressively hot it is, even at night. However, I think the fact that it is at night will mean that the track temperatures won't be ludicrously high. They won't be as high as Austria, like 50 degrees, but they could be into the 40s probably. But yeah, Mercedes have won the last two Singapore Grand Prix, but I honestly think we could see a race like 2015 where they were just off it. They were well off the Red Bulls, right off the Ferraris. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton has won the last two. I mean, what do you think, Owen? You're a bit of a Hamilton fan, to say at least. How do you think your man's going to do this weekend?
I think it's difficult to say, to be honest, because obviously you've got, Mercedes don't have the power advantage that they used to have, which was, brilliant for them in 2014. But they've got more downforce, which should help, and it's more efficient downforce by what I've heard. So, like, Ferrari's got troubles with front-end downforce. That's why they've been struggling a lot of the time with understeer. Obviously, that doesn't matter so much at Spa or Monza because they're both kind of power-oriented circuits. I know you can weigh it up one way and weigh it up the other. Like, the way I look at it, yeah, it's going to be very, very hot. Is that going to be Austria levels of heat? Is that going to adversely affect Mercedes? But then again, you've got the downforce. Ferrari shouldn't have so much of a pace advantage. I mean, to me, it's difficult to say. I think it's a 50-50. I just think the organisational skills of Mercedes might edge it out. But then again, Ferrari, worst comes to the worst, Ferrari can always wind on a bit more wing than they really want to and just sacrifice some of their engine power because they have a horsepower advantage.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Ferrari. Like, Vettel especially has done incredibly well around Singapore. He has a real knack for the place. But if there's any track on the calendar other than Monaco that won't suit the Ferrari because of the amount of, the relative lack of downforce they have the power. It's worked wonders for them around Spa and Monza. But around Singapore, you'd expect Ferrari to relatively struggle, wouldn't you, Louis?
Yeah, you would. But, Ferrari have done some quite good work this season, but they still do lack that downforce required around Singapore. Like Singapore, even though they might have got rid of the absolutely crazy chicane, it's still like a really tight track, and it requires a lot of downforce, which Mercedes definitely and Red Bull have the advantage. But they've got that horsepower advantage, which means that they are going to probably do better than what most people would expect them to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think as well, because it's been over a year since Vettel's run a race now as well, Jack. Like, if there's any race where Vettel can get his confidence back, where he can get his mojo back, it is here in Singapore. Over the years, he's won it 4 times the race, more than anybody else. Well, sorry, equal with Hamilton now. But he's absolutely got a knack around that place. If there's anywhere he can get his mojo back, he's here. Do you think he'll do well this weekend?
I mean, you would think so. I think he'll probably do well. He's going to be eager to bounce back after Italy. So he's going to be fighting more and more, especially with the way Charles is showing him up. It seems to have got people talking just more and more so now. So he'll be keen to make an impression, keen to reinforce, I am number one in this team. Don't you go think anything else. So I think he'll do well. He'll certainly do better than he has done recently. But I don't know. I'm in two minds about it. It's more car pace overall rather than, because I don't think that they'll be able to just use power to get past any chassis problems or tyre problems that they have. But I do think he'll do better than we suspect, maybe.
I think he should do better. Yeah, I think with the car not being the best around this track, I think he will struggle to win the race. What do you think about Leclerc though? About Owain, he's won the last 2 races. I mean, this like we said, this track shouldn't suit the Ferrari too much, but he's definitely in with a chance this weekend, isn't he?
I mean, he's on a roll, and confidence is very, very key for these guys. So there is a certain amount of, I think he's dealt with the Ferrari and its its downsides that it has far better than Vettel has. And I think Vettel's got 4 wins, but you've got to remember those 4 wins were in, very downforce heavy, lower on power cars that were streets ahead of everything else on the field. When it comes to sort of handling and the amount of grip that they could pull out of it. I think Leclerc's got a far better chance because he seems to suit the car more. He seems confident. I don't think Vettel's got the racecraft really for it. Bearing in mind that I honestly think it's almost like watching an imposter. Someone who isn't. It's not a 4-time world champion level performance coming out of Vettel right now.
No, it's really not. He's really struggling. I've got the stats in front of me here with the old race Singapore. You are right. He won 3 times with the Red Bull, 2011 to 2013. He also won in 2015 with the Ferrari, which did very well around some tracks. I think a lot of it though was him. He was unbelievable that race. You remember 2016? He started from the back of the grid, and I think he finished 5th or something like that. But people were saying, if he started inside the top 8 for that race, he would have won comfortably. I think he's incredible around that track, but with the way he is at the moment, with the form he's in, it's going to be difficult. I think you're right in that Leclerc's got a very good chance as well. He's on a lot more of a roll. However, I'm going to stick my neck out, and we'll get onto the bold predictions later in a bit. I honestly think that Red Bull, I think they've got a very, very strong chance. And if I'm going to back anybody for the win this weekend, I'm going to back Max Verstappen. He's pulled out some incredible wins this season in Hockenheim and Austria, tracks where you wouldn't expect him to do that well. And the Red Bull should suit that, suit the Singapore track, wouldn't you say, Louis?
Yeah, I said earlier that the Mercedes and the Red Bull do have the big downforce advantage over Ferrari, and that's where I think it can really come into play this weekend. Also, let's not forget that Max has absolutely outdriven that Red Bull this season, and he is, apart from few little errors around Monaco or something, he really does well on street circuits. He got a front row start in 2017. So it's not a track where
We all know what happened after that, though.
To be fair, that's not his fault, though. To be
No, he was took out by Brighton and Vettel, to be fair.
Yeah, Ferrari sandwich. But, you know, I think, yeah, Max does definitely have a fighting chance. And I think even Albon may even shows that this Red Bull has some good pace around here, get a solid finish, top 6 finish.
Yeah, definitely. He's got a very good chance of getting at least top 6, Albon. I don't know if any of you guys listened to the Beyond the Grid podcast, but Albon was on this week, and in his interview, he seemed really, really humble and really down to earth. Like, you know, he honestly admitted he doesn't know how to get the best out of this car yet, even though he's had 2 races with it. I think he's going to do really well with Red Bull. He's really grounded. I think he's got a good chance at potentially of his first F1 podium. What do you think, Jack?
I'd agree, actually. I reckon he could get a podium. He seems to be settling in quite well. He's been impressive in these first 2 races he's had. So, yeah, I reckon he could be on for one. If not, then certainly giving a run for their money. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So the top 3 teams obviously going to be a top 3 no matter where we go. But the 4th place is where it gets interesting. And we had a real surprise last week, to say the least, with Renault being the clear best of the rest around a track where you wouldn't expect them to do well. However, Singapore is a track where you would expect them to do well. How do you think they're going to get on, Owain? Because McLaren are going to be chasing them. Toro Rosso are going to be there. There's a lot of teams in the mix for those lower end of the points.
I honestly don't know. I did. Right, does anyone know if Renault ran a new spec engine last week?
I don't think they did. There was no big news about it. They certainly didn't get any penalties for it.
I'm just so surprised that they had that kind of straight line performance.
They were giving the Mercedes a run for its money without slipstream at one point.
But to be fair, I was watching
speed trap. Yeah.
I mean, I was watching the race highlights. There were times when the McLaren was level in an acceleration zone with the Mercedes. It was accelerating at the same rate. So that Renault power unit is probably just around. I don't know. Actually, I really don't know how good it is. But obviously they trimmed out their rear wings and everything like you would do at Monza. It's scarily high level of pace in a straight line, but that might not. I don't know. I don't know enough about the Renault car. I've kind of written it off, to be honest.
That's the thing. We all kind of wrote them off anyway. We thought, McLaren are going to be easy, going to be cruising to 4th place at this rate. But Renault have really come back. And if they get another good result around Singapore, they could be with a chance of getting that 4th. No doubt about it. And
I think it's going to be a fight. I think it's going to be a fight between the McLaren and the Renault for 4th place. Really.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And but I don't know about the Toro Rosso though. That's
yeah, they could pull another incredible result out. I mean, but yeah, going back to Renault though. Yeah, I mean, they got Daniel Ricciardo as well, who has a real knack around Singapore. He could have won in 2015. I think if anybody's going to get best of the rest, it's probably Ricciardo in that Renault. Wouldn't you say, Louis?
Well, as a McLaren fan, maybe not.
A lot of signs in the McLaren. I'm just saying that Ricciardo's probably the favourite, given passport and everything.
Yeah, Daniel is a terrific driver. He knows, it's not easy to overtake around Singapore, but if there's a person to make overtakes, it's Daniel Ricciardo. This is going to be Lando Norris's first time here. Carlos Sainz, I don't know his track record around Singapore. I mean, he did get that 4th place at Toro Rosso a few years back. So, he could be a possible threat. But if Renault are going to continue on this sort of upwards trajectory that they're on, I think Daniel Ricciardo could possibly, get a solid 6th, maybe 5th place.
Yeah, he's definitely got a chance of that, without a doubt. And Hulkenberg's a strong driver as well. But yeah, that's a good point with Toro Rosso as well, because if any track's going to suit them, it's going to be something like Singapore. What do you think, Jack? Strong possibility of points for Gasly and Kvyat this weekend?
Yeah, I think they could. I mean, they're both. I mean, it's weird. Like Gasly seems to actually be a lot more fighting than he was in that Red Bull. he seems quite happy to be. He actually seems all right back in Toro Rosso. So I reckon it could be a bit of elbows out. I don't think they'll be on the pace of Renault, but I think they should be mixing it up with the McLarens of this world. So yeah, I reckon definitely top 10. Maybe not for both. I reckon maybe Kvyat would be top 10. Because I reckon the midfield could get quite close. And maybe Williams and Haas failing out, but I'm sure we'll get to it.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. It'll be hard. The other thing is retirements as well, because obviously the Renault engine has been far from reliable. I'd like to see McLaren as well. I'm a bit of a McLaren fan as well, Louis. You're not the only one here, but I'd like to see McLaren do well, and I think they will do well. But the big question mark is, will they make it to the finish line, Owain?
Flip a coin.
Yeah, it is almost like that, isn't it? Yeah. Get the crystal ball out.
I mean, you got to feel bad for Norris in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Not gone well.
No, and it's not his fault. But I don't know what is causing the issue with the Renault engine, but it does seem like it's overheating, or it's been stressed too much. And I think even though Singapore is not that hard on the engine in terms of the longer accelerations, and it's not got very many more straights, but it's very hot. There's not much cooling going into that car. It could be tough. Honestly, I'd be surprised if all 4 Renault powered cars make the finish line at this rate. It's gonna be difficult. But what do you think, Owain? Do you think that McLaren are going to be quick round here?
I think they got the potential for it. They've got drivers who seem to be on the same page with sort of how they're developing the car. The car seems all right. Seems good. And I think that's going to be the biggest factor, to be honest. I think those two are good drivers. They're good enough to pull a good points finish out of that car. We've seen it before. I think the closest way for us to see would be look at Monaco, look at that sort of pace. But obviously that's months ago now. I think they got a good chance, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely room for a chance. And like you said, I think Louis said as well, Carlos Sainz with his 4th place in the Toro Rosso. He does go well around there. If you're wondering about that, was the only ever wet race in 2017. If you're wondering about the weather forecast, it is not meant to be wet for the race. It's meant to rain earlier in the day, but anybody who knows Singapore, who has been there, will know that even if it absolutely tips it down like it usually does, it'll be dry again within an hour because of the ridiculous humidity they have there. So it's probably going to be a dry race at this point in time. Of course, both forecasts can be wrong. We all know that as Brits. So yeah, let's get on to the other teams now. Racing Point. I don't know what to think about them. They're inconsistent. Sometimes they look pretty damn good, especially in the last 2 races, Belgium and Italy, Mercedes-powered car. However, I don't think they're going to do too well this weekend, are they, Louis?
No, it's a weird one. We've seen they've been so up and down, and I just don't think this track is going to suit the car. They're not quite got the power, and they've not quite got the chassis or the downforce to really compete with the rest of the field on this sort of track. We've seen how the likes of McLaren, Renault, Toro Rosso have kind of moved away as sort of running away as the sort of higher end of the midfield, while Racing Point, they have that odd good performance, but they seem to be lacking, I would say, in some other areas. So, I think it's going to be, it's just not quite making the points, but you don't know what Sergio Perez or even Lance Stroll, God forbid, can do around a track like this. But then you've also got to factor in safety cars, 100% chance of a safety car around Singapore. And we saw some great strategy decisions made by Racing Point last weekend. So we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, they've always got an opportunity, and that's a good point as well about the safety car. When he says 100% kind of safety car, that means there's been a safety car in every race at Singapore, all 11 of them. Every single time, it just breeds safety cars because of the tight walls and also people crashing deliberately into walls as well. You know what I'm referring to? And also, and on that point as well, Sergio Perez, I don't know if he caused one last season, but he definitely went a bit nuts when it came to Sergei Sorokin. I think the heat can definitely get to his head, but if they keep their cool in Singapore, Jack, Racing Point, they do have a chance around there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ever the opportunists, so we know that they'll be eager to make good on any safety cars, any VSCs potentially. I reckon it's what they'll need to do to score reliably. Like if we do have that one race that runs clear the entire time, then I wouldn't see points for him. But like we say, that I think if we do get the safety car that we expect, then expect him to push the boat out and definitely maybe get one car in the points at least.
Definitely. Now another team, Alfa Romeo, aka Kimi Raikkonen Racing. Well, that's a bit unfair now, actually, because that is a bit unfair because Giovinazzi has.
Hey, trying, man.
He's doing okay. He's doing okay.
He's got more points than Kubica.
He does. He has more points than Williams.
Combined, yeah.
that is being harsh on Giovinazzi. I think he's doing a decent job, to be fair. We talked about it last time, Louis and Dev as well. I think he should keep his seat. But yeah, no, this is going to be a track I think that is not going to suit Alfa Romeo, to say the least. But again, like Racing Point, you never know. With retirements, there's always a chance, especially with the form that Kimi Raikkonen's on. I don't think he's scored too much recently, but he's always got the potential. I mean, he's so experienced, and they may not score a lot of points, but of course, it could be important in that midfield battle, couldn't it, Owain?
Yeah, I mean, Raikkonen's quite good at keeping out of trouble and just pounding around and picking up a points finish. It's the sort of thing where, depending on how good the car is, I have no idea. But I think you can probably pull out some kind of points finish, which could be important. I don't know about Giovinazzi. Don't know.
No, that's fair enough. You never know. You could have a chance too. But yeah, so now we're getting on to the bottom two, the two teams that are really, really struggling to say the least this season. Now, Haas, and I've got to be careful how I say this. So the rear end of the Haas has really been struggling with overheating, especially in Spa. I think they probably had the same problem in Italy. Louis got the joke. But around Singapore as well, where there's a lot of pressure on the rear end of the Haas. I think they are going to really, really struggle. Even if they qualify well, which they seem to, I think that Haas car is going to really struggle around Singapore. What do you think, Louis?
I mean, Magnussen dropped harder than a lead balloon in Belgium. It's just that car has just absolutely no sort of decent race pace. Yeah, they might be able to, if they can. I mean, we've seen how extreme Kevin Magnussen's defending can be at times. If he can maintain that around sort of the tight areas of Singapore, then they may be able to hold on for a midfield position. But points I think is out of the question here. I don't see either Magnussen or Grosjean doing anything good enough to get any points.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be hard for them. I mean, if it was anywhere they were going to score points, it was going to be somewhere like Belgium, where they got into decent points positions. They just couldn't hold it because the race pace was so poor. However, it is very hard to overtake in Singapore. If they get a fortuitous safety car or something like that, with that straight line speed from the Ferrari, do you think there's any chance they could hold it, Jack?
I mean, of course there's a chance. I mean, like you say, safety cars could help them out. And their quality pace is better than their race pace by miles. So, I mean, we've seen them in the top 10, I think, more often than not, haven't we? So, yeah, they could certainly make a nuisance of themselves. And if not stay in the points, then at least be 11, something like that. But, yeah, they've got it's probably their best shot for the Asian races coming up, since Singapore, it's like you say, Singapore just doesn't promote overtaking naturally. So yeah, it's probably one of their best shots in the late season game. So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's a slight chance of Haas scoring points. You never know. But Williams, they've recently announced that they'll stay with Mercedes engine until I think 2024. Which is good news for them. However, on track, it's been absolutely dismal to say the least. I mean, I don't even know how to preview Williams. It's a bit strange. It's just like they'll be there, they'll finish the race. They finished every race this season, 100% reliability record. But in terms of race pace, absolutely dismal. And honestly, you just can't see them scoring points. I don't know what to say. Owain, anything to say about Williams?
It's not even fast enough to keep within striking distance when everything does go wrong, like in Germany.
Yeah.
You know, it's really bad. It's so bad. It's so bad with the Mercedes power unit. That's how bad it is. Oh man.
All right, so we'll move on from that. There's nothing to say. I mean,
I've run out of superlatives because I've had to use them all.
Everything when it comes to Williams is on the lines of, oh, it's so bad. That's pretty much it. Oh, anyways.
They're not idiots. They're not idiots at Williams.
These are very intelligent people, and they are a good team, but they've just made it. I mean, it's like that. I guess you've all seen Rush, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know the bit where Nicky Lauda gets into the car and he comes out again after running the Ferrari on a little test. He's just like, all these facilities and all these people, and you still produce this piece of shit. It's like that with Williams. It really is. They're gonna have to. I think they've wrote off this season. I'll be shocked if they're still developing this car. They have to focus on 2020 and 2021.
Work on 2021, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they're doing at this rate. But speaking of the future, has anybody seen the new Pirelli? I think they're 18-inch wheels or something like that. They've just been tested.
Yeah.
Okay, Louis wincing and he's nodding. What do you think of them, Louis?
Like some of the people I've seen like react online, it's like, oh my god, look at these rims, they're amazing. I just look at them, it's like they make the tires look huge.
Yes, they are
absolutely massive.
The tires in F1 cars are massive.
Yeah, but it looks like they're driving like Tron cars. Imagine them putting LEDs in it, just sort of spinning around. It's like
I'm all for that. I am all for LEDs in the wheels.
Oh, yeah,
actually, you may mock about LEDs. I swear that I saw an article saying that they're thinking about putting these LEDs in the wheels that will show the position of the car.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
100%.
I
swear I saw that.
Is this like one of Bernie's mad ideas? It's just like
I don't care if it is. Like, I'm all for like making F1 look ridiculous. Like, actually, no. I say that. I'll take that back. Actually,
I mean,
Formula E is fine.
I don't know. Like, you see the manufacturer concepts. It's the sort of thing that will look right at home in anyone's future F1 concept in the next 10 years, 50 years, whatever they decide to put out. So it looks quite at home, if you ask me. I don't see a problem with it.
They do look like road car tires.
That's the point, though.
It is, but like it I don't know.
I get it looks weird. I think it might be a case of something like the Halo, for example. You know, I don't know about you guys, but when it first got announced, I was massively opposed to it. I thought, it's an absolute waste of space. It looks ridiculous. We'll never get used to how it looks on the cars, but it looks totally normal now. It's totally normal after a few races.
Everyone says that every time about an aesthetic change to a Formula One car. Like,
yeah,
that's the truth of the matter. Let's be honest.
I mean, I think I was talking to my brother. It was based around the Halo, but I think it'll be the same deal with the wheels. Like, when people were like, "Oh, it looks ugly," it's like, well, hang on. F1 cars aren't conventionally pretty. They look like they're not conventional cars. They don't have curves and things like that make normal cars look nice. They look nice to us in a slightly different way. You just get used to a different aesthetic. It's a different aesthetic you're working with anyway. So like, the Halo has now been integrated properly. You're used to it. You'll get used to those 18-inch wheels. It's more conventional. It's unusual to see a 13-inch wheel anywhere nowadays. I can't think of a road car that uses 13. So like, Yeah,
I'm just
that's actually what the
thinking.
fuss is about.
I'm just thinking they look actually around about the right size. I reckon they can fit on my car.
That's the point, I think. It's meant
They're
to be.
18-inch wheels, and I've got 17s on there right now.
Yeah.
Hold up, I'm just going to call up Pirelli.
The problem is that they only last about 50 miles. So.
Well, I'm not going to put the energy that a Formula One car is going to put in.
That's true. That's a good point.
I'll have no rear grip when I'm following another car, but you know.
Well, living in Britain as well, it'd be awful because they'd be absolutely useless in the rain. You hit a puddle going straight off. Oh man, so yeah, I think it's fair to say we're pretty split on the new tyres.
I think they're going to have wheel covers anyway. We're not even going to notice.
That's true,
yeah. I'm sure I'll get used to it.
Yeah, definitely. Are they coming in for 2021?
2021, yeah.
2021.
Yes. No, wait. Hold on.
Are they 2020?
It's not. Yeah.
Oh no. Wait, no, 2020.
Yeah.
We get to see it next year.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. You mentioned about the LEDs as well. That's going to be a slippery slope because you just know if it can do the position, you just know the Heineken stars are going to show up on there.
Why would you say that? Now they're going to hear.
It's gonna happen though, isn't it? If they put it like a massive bridge over the track during live coverage, look, they do that. That's way easier.
I'm so glad they've rolled that back. Like I was okay with like Bernie says, and I was okay with like the advertising hoarding on the grass that wasn't actually there. Like that was okay.
Yeah.
But the rolling tires on the edge, like on the runoff areas that like rolled towards the track, and the bridge, like we were one step away from like, just like it was almost Mario Kart levels.
I mean, we already have the Mario Kart little sound noises for the starting line.
I'm really not a fan of it.
Yeah.
And occasionally they are the Heineken stars.
They are, yeah. For Canada,
it annoys me more than anything that they haven't just gone fully into it and actually put a start line noise, that's like a higher tone noise for when they start. Because like you hear 5 beats, like, hang on, what have they gone?
Right,
did you see at Monza they had the fireworks and the flames going off on the start-finish line before the race starts?
Give me a second. Carry on talking, and I'm going to find something for you.
Oh god.
Because I know where it's going to end up if we don't keep it in check.
All right, well, while you find that, Owain, let's get some predictions in. So pole position, I'll lay down mine first. I'm going to say on 1 lap pace, I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton pole. Sorry, Louis. What do you say?
I'm going to go with Charles Leclerc. I reckon Ferrari. I'm going to stick that thing on pole.
Okay. Jack?
Ferrari Bottas.
Bottas, that's a bold one, that.
Wait, are we going for pole?
Yeah, pole position, yeah.
Oh, Lewis Hamilton, every day of the week.
Good.
No, like honestly, in an inferior car, what was it? In an inferior car, was it last year?
Last year, he pulled out one of the best pole laps I've ever seen. I'm not going to name names. If you listen to this, I hope you realise how ridiculous you are when you said this. Someone said on this group chat I was in, because he did that lap, and then the next lap he wouldn't run wide. He was nowhere near what he did in that first lap. And he said, and they just said, oh, they were lucky. He was lucky with that lap. It was just pure luck. It wasn't skill. I'm just like, he was done one of the best laps of his career, and you're saying that was luck.
Hasn't he got like
25 corners or whatever? Oh man.
He's got something like an 85 poles or something like that. Yeah, that's an awful lot of luck.
Yeah,
I found the thing I'm looking for, by the way.
He's lucky, just like Schumacher was lucky, just like Vettel was lucky in the Red Bull.
Yeah.
Although we are seeing that Vettel might have been a bit lucky in the Red Bull now.
Right. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but left a bit.
Put it back a bit, yeah. What is
that?
It's hard to do it mirrored.
I can sort of see it, yeah.
Is it like it is a Mario Kart track?
That is Speed Racer. That is the 2008 film Speed Racer.
Oh, right.
What it will end up like. You can Google it if you'd like to know. But
yeah, just Google it, guys. But I can sort of see what he was going for there. That could be it one day. You never know. Especially being a night race at Singapore, you could see that one day. Okay, so 2 Hamiltons, a Bottas, and Leclerc for pole. Who are we saying for the win? I am going to stick my cat again and say Max Verstappen. I think he's going to win it. Louis?
I'm going to stick with my pole man. I'm going to say Charles Leclerc is going to be able to win this one.
Charles Leclerc to hold his pole position. Jack, are you going to say that Bottas is going to hold his pole into a win?
No, I'm going to say Hamilton will get the win.
Okay, interesting. Owain?
I'm going to go for a Hamilton win, but I'd really like to see Albon.
Spoil
Really
the
like to see
party.
Albon
The
win.
scenes, the Thai fans going nuts. It's a short
Actually, that
turn,
would be.
man.
Oh shit! Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Sorry about the swearing.
It's fine, I swore earlier on. We don't give a crap. Anyway, so
Can I come back to it? But like,
go on.
Albon, I think this is going to be Albon's biggest test yet. We saw that he was willing to give the gaps a go in Italy. I don't know if you covered it on the podcast for it, but he's willing to give gaps a go, which is what Helmut Marko was looking for. And I think it'll be a big test in Singapore, depending on what he does.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be a big test for everybody. It's always such an effort. I've got to say, I do admire the fitness of these F1 drivers. Like walking around in Singapore in t-shirt and shorts is an absolute effort and a half. It is unbearable. To do what they do for 2 hours straight, full overalls, no breaks, a little tiny drink bottle doesn't work half the time if you're Kimi Räikkönen.
There's 50, 60 degrees in there.
It's ridiculous. And again, the age of some of these drivers, Raikkonen is 39 years old.
It's like hot yoga, and anyone who's done hot yoga.
Hot yoga? That sounds like a euphemism, that.
Right, it's yoga, but in
a
very hot room, like a 30 or 40 degree room.
Yeah.
That's what that's what Singapore's like, really.
Other forms of exercise are available.
And preferred. Running.
Okay. All right, so let's complete our podiums then. So I said Max Verstappen for the win. I'm going to say my pole man Hamilton for second, and third place. I'm going to go 2 Red Bulls on the podium. Alexander Albon for third place. Louis, who's your second and third?
I'm going to say it's going to be a close second for Lewis Hamilton because I reckon he's going to really do well this weekend. And then third man is going to be. I'm going to stick my neck out and say Sebastian Vettel.
Bold move.
On current form, that is bold, but on past Singapore form, it's understandable. Jack?
Oh, I'm running through the possibilities, and I feel like I've backed myself into a corner here, but I'm going to say... Albon for second and Leclerc for third.
Okay.
I'm going to go... I'm going to go with Leclerc and then Verstappen.
Okay, let's
actually, I want to swap that round, actually.
No, you got to go with your first answer.
Verstappen, Leclerc.
Verstappen, Leclerc. Okay, all right. So now I want a bold prediction from you all. So I'm going to say mine, which I'm not sure what it is now, actually. Thinking about it. Let's see. Who's unlikely to get points? Who could get points? I really don't know. Come back. I'll come back to myself. What's your bold call? Actually, no, my bold call, to be fair, should probably be Albon for his first podium. I think that's quite a bold call. Louis, what are you saying?
I'm going to say... I'm going to go Kvyat, top 6.
Oh, spicy. I like that. Jack, what are you saying?
It's a bit convoluted, but I'm going to say, I'm hoping you understand what I mean. Renault losing a podium.
So
I think I know what you mean.
They would have been getting a podium, but a mechanical failure loses it.
Are we talking like just a Renault powered car, or Renault just them on their own?
Renault as a team.
The Renault getting a retirement. I tell you what, that would be such a Renault thing to do from this season.
It would have to be Nico Hülkenberg, obviously.
Oh, Hülkenberg. It would be him as well, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Hulk takes a dive.
I can. Yeah, I can see that. I can totally.
I mean, what's he got to lose at this point?
I mean, what are you going? Are you going for a Williams top 10 then, or?
No, God no.
Or something not impossible.
It really isn't. The only way they're going to, they haven't that top 10 this season. The only way they can get a top 10 on merit is if, I don't know, like 10 cars retire or something. That's about it.
What, like a 1996 Monaco type deal?
Yeah, it takes something like that, genuinely. What are you saying, Owain? What's your ball?
I don't know. Like a 4th place for McLaren?
Ooh, okay.
That's not that bold, but
No,
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I was like, is that bold enough? I was going to go Norris and
that's
P4.
bold. That's bold. I'd say that's bold. Yeah. Right, so we've got the predictions in. God, I don't know. I don't think there's anything else really to preview. I think we've gone through a decent amount of time. But yeah, so we will be back in a week's time to review this race, see how wrong we got all our predictions, and also preview the Russian Grand Prix, because for some reason Singapore and Russia are back to back. So yes, we'll be looking forward to Sochi.
Oh, you really?
No, I'm really not.
I mean, try to at least pretend to be enthusiastic.
I'm not.
Sochi, go on.
I'm genuine. I'm not going to admit that I'm going to enjoy watching that race, but it could be important for the best of the rest for something. I don't know. Anyway, so yes, thank you for joining us on this week's edition. Thank you to Louis. Thank you to Jack. Thank you to Owain all for coming on today. I really do appreciate it, lads.
No problem.
Thank you.
It's all right. Got nothing else to do.
Again, pretend to be enthusiastic at least.
I drove back specifically from Huddersfield to do this.
Yeah. So thank you for watching our podcast. Thank you for listening to our podcast as well, because we should be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts as well by now. So thank you for watching and listening to that. We'll be back same time next week to preview the Russian Grand Prix and review what will hopefully be an absolutely hectic Singapore Grand Prix. Thank you very much. Keep it tuned to the F1 Chronicle, and goodbye. Bye.
Bye.